And then we have to deal with it. What's happening over on Earth, too? There's a presidential nominee running a bizarre, haphazard, R-rated campaign these days. Vulgar comments, crude insults, staging stunts at McDonald's in a desperate attempt to get people to pay attention to his lie that Kamala Harris never worked there. And with each passing day, the big question in American politics is he okay? At a Saturday campaign rally in Pennsylvania, the self-described stable genius began his remarks with a long detour about golf legend Arnold Palmer. A whole 10 minutes into his rant, he said this.
I'm going to tell him the real story of Arnold. But Arnold Palmer was all man, and I say that in all due respect to women, and I love women. But this is a guy that was all man. This man was strong and tough, and I refuse to say it, but when he took showers with the other pros, they came out of there, they said, oh my God, that's unbelievable.
And you know what they say, guys who talk about it, I'll leave it at that. So here's the rest of the Trump campaign's closing message. Arnold Palmer's and this.
So you have to tell Kamala Harris that you've had enough, that you just can't take it anymore. We can't stand you. You're a shit vice president. The worst. You're the worst vice president. Kamala, you're fired. Get the hell out of here. You're fired. Get out of here.
So that's on the menu, if you want it. And we play it like that, unedited and unfiltered, because here we are in the ninth inning of the 2024 presidential campaign and possibly of our democracy. Near the end of Trump's third run for the White House, and it's worth remaining clear-eyed about exactly what the choice is. Trump is now publicly facing all of you, the voters of America, with his cranky, exhausted, vulgar self. Between the discussions of Arnold Palmer's penis size, the conversations about sharks, and Hannibal Lecter, who he started calling Dr. Hannibal Lecter, like he knows something we don't know about some secret PhD the character obtained. The bizarre moments of swaying to his favorite playlist for 30 minutes. There remains one consistent through line in Donald Trump's third run for the office, his deeply authoritarian inclinations and promises. And it comes out even in the friendly confines of his favorite television network, Fox News. In an interview on Sunday, Donald Trump is given a chance to take it all back, to walk back or tone down the comment that Democrats living in this country are, quote, the enemy within. And here's what happened.
You talk about the enemy within. There's enemies, America's enemies outside. The enemy within is a pretty ominous phrase if you're talking about other Americans.
I think it's accurate. I mean, I think it's accurate.
Who are you talking about?
And,
the enemy?
You know, I heard that. They said, oh, the enemy. On the outside, you have Russia, you have China, you have a lot of different groups. These are bad people. We have a lot of bad people. But when you look at Shifty Schiff and some of the others, yeah, they are, to me, the enemy from within. I think Nancy Pelosi is an enemy from within.
That's where we are. And then in an interview here on MSNBC, Vice President Kamala Harris had a simple message in response to Donald Trump's crude smears about her and this unhinged behavior we all see.
So the American people deserve so much better. That's how I come at it. And to your point, the President of the United States must set a standard, not only for our nation, but understanding the standard that we as a nation must set for the world. You know, we as representing the United States of America walk into rooms around the world with the earned and self-appointed authority to talk about the importance of democracy, rule of law, and have been thought of as a role model, imperfect though we may be, but a role model of what it means to be committed to certain standards, including international rules and norms, but also standards of decorum. And what you see in my opponent, a former president of the United States, really is, it demeans the office. And I have said, and I'm very clear about this, Donald Trump should never again stand behind the seal of the President of the United States. He has not earned the right. He's not earned the right. And that's why he's going to lose.
In a few minutes, Vice President Kamala Harris will be joined at a campaign event in Michigan alongside Liz Cheney. It's the second stop in that swing state tour that we mentioned. We'll bring it to you live when it gets underway. But we start right now with some of our most favorite reporters and friends and people who can handle the truth of who Donald Trump is showing all of us he really, truly is. It starts with NBC News correspondent Vaughn Hillyard. He's with Donald Trump in North Carolina today, along with us for the rest of the hour, the whole hour. MSNBC political analyst Tim Miller is here, former RNC spokesman, host of the Bulwark podcast, and New York Times editorial board member. MSNBC political analyst Mara Gay's here. Also joining us, distinguished political scholar and professor at Princeton University, Eddie Glaude is here. Vaughn Hillyard, I'm sorry to come to you straight out of this. There's so much there to reckon with as a country, as voters. But again, none of this was caught on secret tape. None of this was leaked from someone rolling their recorder in the backseat of the Beast or whatever vehicle Donald Trump is moved around in these days. These are things Donald Trump is saying at a rally. This is part of a pattern of displaying empathy for Harvey Weinstein, but describing Americans as the enemy within. Given a chance on Fox News, where these anchors have made clear that they want him to do better. Laura Ingraham did it last week. Howard Kurtz did it this week. They want him to clean up this enemy within, and he will not do it. Nope, not going to do it. That's who they are, Democrats and people who oppose me. He named two there, Adam Schiff and Nancy Pelosi. Take me inside these closing days of the third Donald Trump campaign for the White House.
I think, Nicolle, it'd be accurate to report to you contextually that 2 weeks out from Election Day, this individual that you're looking at, the Republican nominee for President of the United States, the former President Donald Trump, is, I would assert, the most unencumbered, publicly confident Donald Trump that I have seen in now 5 years, since before the pandemic struck his White House and his administration. This is somebody who in 2022 went around the country to prove to his Republican Party that he would be able to primary those that had previously impeached him. He was successful. In 2023, he went up against the likes of a Florida governor, a former UN ambassador, a former vice president, his own running mate, Mike Pence, all individuals who tried to challenge him. And what did he do? He beat them all. And he proved to the country again that he was all powerful in the Republican Party. And here in 2024, over the course of 4 indictments, being found guilty on 34 felony counts, he has effectively been able to evade any punishment for any of the criminal charges that were brought before him. And when Donald Trump, standing here on stage just a few minutes ago, told this crowd that he sees the polls and he is up in every battleground state, and goes on to suggest that he should also win the state of California if God were the vote counter, this is somebody who is confident about his position here, and yet at a moment in time where we are reckoning with Donald Trump also suggesting publicly to this crowd repeatedly that Democrats are on the cusp of cheating. And he pointed out to RNC chairman Nicolle Wallace, who is from North Carolina here, and he said he's here in charge of keeping Democrats from cheating. And I bring that up because just about 2 hours ago, we were at another stop where I had the opportunity to ask Donald Trump not a question about what will that cheating look like, but instead the question that I presented to him, Nicolle, was have there been any specific incidents of cheating up to this point that you or Nicolle Wallace would like to present to the country? And he said, no, not at this time. It's too early. But then he gets up on stage and suggests the only way that he would lose this election is if Democrats were to cheat. It's a lot that is coming down to ultimately a 15 days here that could very well, for Donald Trump, I think here be a moment that the country is watching somebody who believes wholeheartedly that he will win the election. And it's not quite clear if he does not what the country would look like in the aftermath of it.
Vaughn Hillyard, let me freeze frame on winning California in the same breath that he says he thinks he's winning in the battleground states, because You could, I guess, theorize that he's seeing something we're not seeing, right? In his mind, it happened in 2016. But when you lump in California, it erases the credibility of the claim about the battleground states. Tell me more about Trump's belief as a candidate to be not just president, but the nation's commander-in-chief, saying publicly that he thinks he's winning California.
And frankly, his people, his supporters, a large number of them, they echo it. This is not the first time that Donald Trump has suggested that he would win California. He suggested it at an event that I was at in 2023. He suggested it to Phil McGraw in an interview about 2 months ago. Now, let's be very clear. He lost the state of California to Joe Biden by 5 million votes, a 2-to-1 margin, and yet that has not stopped him from putting out the idea that he actually won California, again, if God was the actual vote counter. And I think that's an important point, because I was actually at his rally in Coachella, California, a week ago this weekend, and I went and talked to 50 of his supporters there at that rally and very straightforwardly asked them whether they believed that Donald Trump had actually won the 2020 election in California. And out of those 50 individuals, Trump supporters that I talked to, 30 of them said that. And it's quite reflective of the mass part of the Republican electorate that believes that the 2020 election was stolen from Donald Trump. And as you said it, I don't think that there is any bigger lie to draw that stark contrast to reality with than other than the California claim. And again, 30 out of 50 people I talked to at that California event last week believe that he had in fact won California. I think that is why editorially it's important to note that him suggesting that has repercussions that extend down to the ground here.